Do you think we're still in that realm now where people are that obsessed, or it's even more increased?
I think it's worse. I think it's worse because when we made that movie, like shows, I mean, I think American Idol was on, in fact, I'm pretty sure it was, but those type of shows that are about like people who want to be in entertainment, who are very obvious about that, there are way more of them now. You know, you have The Voice, you have the Songland that just came out, you have American Idol's Reinvented and now it's out again. There's other ones I'm probably not even thinking of right now. I think that, you know, very American sort of, you know, need to be acknowledged and recognized, and that's all been kind of pushed up by social media, of course, too. That's taken hold and created this environment too. But there are more shows like that now than there were when we made Within the Woods. So I think it's gotten worse. Yeah, I think more people want their 15 minutes of fame, and they want more than 15 minutes.
Yeah, Andy Warhol,
Right.
you're 15, you know, it's now an hour and a half.
Right, they want an hour and a half. They don't just, well, they want a series, you know. They want you know, a career out of it. They don't just want 15 minutes, they want a career. Right. So, and you wonder how many of these people are out there? Well, plenty, because these shows keep going and people keep watching it too, so, you know.
Do you think there are people in entertainment, though, that also just want to create stuff that they want to watch? It's not just
absolutely. I mean, I'm one of those people, and I know a lot of people like that, who want to create stuff that they want to watch. I mean, and a lot of times that's where our movies come from when we talk about what movie we want to make or what movie we want to consider trying to get off the ground. It's literally, if I want to see this movie, I'm going to have to make this movie. You know, that's how a lot of our projects have started, is not with someone giving you the green light, giving yourself the green light, and making something that you otherwise, it's a real cool feeling to when you get to the end of that process, if if it goes that far, to be like, this movie wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us. Like if we hadn't, come up with this idea and nurtured it and built it and worked on it for years, it wouldn't exist. Because there's plenty of movies out there that exist independently of many of the people who work on them, which would be like most studio movies. Like today, that'd be like all studio movies, in my opinion.
You grew up in Virginia?
Yes.
So you were exposed to sort of the all-American, as pretty much as all-American as you can get.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in suburban neighborhoods, and literally it was almost like the Stranger Things sort of upbringing. Me and my friends riding our bikes around, getting into trouble, that kind of stuff, and playing video games and hanging out and reading comic books. And somewhere along the line, I sort of took my love of storytelling and reading and writing. I sort of took that to the next level and started, I got my first high-8 video camera. So.
And what did you make?
The first short I ever made, it's sort of lost now, but it was called The Beast in the Basement. And that started as a school project. I was in, how old was I when I did that? I mean, it was before, I was living in Georgia. I mean, I'm probably 12 or 13 years old, something like that. And I remember the teacher, I don't remember what she wanted us to do, but it wasn't that. I changed it over to that. We're probably supposed to deliver a paper about something we're interested in. I said, can I make a short instead? Can I make a movie instead? And so we made this short with me and my friend, and my dad shot it. My dad was the DP on it. And we got a camera from somebody. I think it was a friend of his who had it, because I didn't even own a camera at that point. Our family didn't. I did not grow up with like Super 8 films or video cameras in the house. Nobody had that. I was the one who wanted that. So we had to borrow a camera from somebody, and my dad shot it. And it was like a mad scientist creature kind of thing in the basement, a beast in the basement. And we just did it in like a day or two and showed it to the class, and everybody enjoyed it. So, so that I continued to do things along those lines. But my dad never shot anything for me ever again. I remember he started getting creative with some of the Dutch angles, and I was like, all right, Dad, I don't know if I want a Dutch angle for that shot. So,
So having grown up with this American experience, though, and you said just previously that it's sort of the American way, you have to be known for something. Do you see maybe the European way or another way where it's more about the art of it, the love of it, creating something? Do you think that can be possible in the American experience, or it has to be about you've got to do the TED Talk, you've got to make sure that it's out there, you're recognized?
I think that the publicity nowadays has superseded the content in terms of, I'm talking about film people, artists, anybody really. Unfortunately, I think people are spending way more time doing PR and finding new ways to get whether it's Twitter or social media, whatever they're doing. There's a lot of putting the cart before the horse nowadays that I see. I see it with younger people and I see it with older people. I mean, it's not like one generation is just doing that and nobody else is. I think there's a lot of that going on. Part of it is because the times we live in. You do have to cut through the noise, and you do have to find ways to get your name out there. And getting your work out there, that's harder than it used to be. And you don't have as many people cheerleading for you, or let's just say invested in you, because they're going to make money too, like you used to. So you have to do more of the work yourself, and you have to find more ways to kind of spread it around. In terms of that turning into like creating a monster where you've got people who are just completely about the exposure and not about doing any actual work, yeah, there are people like that. I mean, I don't think I'm one of those people, and I try to not associate with people like that. But there are a lot of people like that, and sometimes they do get more attention than me or other people who are just more like, let's do the work, let's do a good job, let's make sure this thing is really as good as it can be, the movie, before we release it. Let's, I think sometimes there's people that are blowing through things really quick and not thinking about, the end result. It's more about just getting your voice out there and being louder than everybody else, So a European, I don't know if I think it is more of an American thing than a European thing, for sure. Yeah.
That being said, though, social media is necessary, especially in the independent space. If you don't have money to pay a publicist.
That's why it's assumed such a great importance, especially in the independent, everywhere really. But I mean, the independent world, yeah, it's assumed much more of a importance than it used to have, because the infrastructure is so shaky and minimalized from what it used to be, and it was never easy. I don't want to give the impression it was ever easy to make independent movies, because it was not, for me or anybody. But it has, taken on a greater role because of that, because the infrastructure to support you is not there as much as it used to be. I'm talking about distributors and theatrical play, reviews, big brick and mortar stores, foreign sales, things that used to boost the impact of your film, boost your profile, and you didn't have anything to do with it.
Sure.
I've been doing this long enough that's how it was when I started.
Right, Blockbuster, the little section that had all the cool indie films, like there would be 25 of one movie that I'd be like, okay, I know I don't want to see that one.
Yeah.
But where's like the weird like indie ones, and it was such a treasure to find that. And
all those stores. Yeah, I mean,
except for one.
And that was a huge goal actually back then, was getting your movie into Blockbuster, and a lot of us didn't succeed in that. I got a few movies into Blockbuster. But it was after making, I don't know, let's say I'd probably directed 10 movies before I got a movie into Blockbuster.
Oh, wow.
And these are all distributed, by the way, commercially distributed. But, you get your Hollywood Video was sort of the one that would take more indie films. They were more indie friendly. Blockbuster was like the big, house on the hill with the big gates that, they wouldn't open for anyone except the studios. So it was very tough to get an indie title into Blockbuster back then.
Do you remember walking in there and finally seeing it there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, the movie I got in was called Death Factory, and of course it was a thrill to see it on the shelf, to see it on the new release wall. I remember sometimes we'd go in, my wife and I would go in to rent movies, and then I'd always sort of want to see how my titles were doing, like, did they rent? Or sometimes you'd even see people staying there looking at it and considering whether to rent it or not. So you have to restrain yourself. Oh yeah, it's great. You should get that movie. You should rent that. That was like that's something that today's filmmakers, they will never have that experience. You know, independent filmmakers won't have that experience to walk into a store that was a store that they had gone in as a customer, as a fan, and then see their own movie on the shelf. I can't describe the thrill of that. You know, I wish I'd taken photos back then, because I didn't, because I thought that was going to go on forever. I never thought, I didn't think video stores were going to like go out of business the way they did, but you know, you never know, right? I mean, it's always some change, and Netflix came in and then sort of eroded that after a while. But when it was happening, I mean, none of us have photos of that in general, because we didn't think that was gonna. Why would you want to take a picture of that?
There was no iPhone, so you'd have
Well,
to.
yeah, that's the thing too. We would be taking that picture on film probably back then.
A Polaroid,
or at least with a Polaroid or something. Yeah. So it was. But anyway, yeah, it was a big thrill to see it on the shelf. For sure.